I didn't cry, I didn't fight, and I didn't beg. When I caught my wife cheating in my own bed, I called 911 and got her lover arrested for sexual assault, on purpose 30 minutes ago. An anonymous photo landed in my phone inbox. No caption, no sender, just a crystal clear shot of my bed in my bedroom, 2 people tangled in the sheets, my wife, and a man I'd been watching for months. The second I pushed open my front door, I felt no anger, no heartbreak, no rage, only cold, unshakable calm. While my wife and her lover froze in terror, I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, and uttered the words that would destroy both their lives forever. I need an officer at my address. I think my wife is being assaulted. It was exactly 3:30 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, and I was sitting at my office desk, pretending to grind through work like any normal day. My monitor was split 3 ways, endless lines of back-end code I was debugging, a dense technical document I was skimming for show, and a hidden Reddit thread about mechanical keyboards in the corner to kill time. To everyone around me, I was just your average, quiet, unassuming software architect, predictable, mild, mannered, and completely oblivious to his perfect marriage falling apart behind his back. At least, that's what everyone thought. My phone buzzed once, sharp and quiet against my desk. I glanced down, expecting a work message or a spam notification. Instead, I saw an anonymous image, no text attached. The photo was grainy, shot through a curtain crack at a weird angle, but I'd recognize that bed anywhere. My IKEA Malm King frame, my charcoal gray fitted sheet, even the tiny grease stain in the top right corner from the pepperoni pizza I'd eaten alone in bed last month, and on that bed, a man and a woman. The woman's back was to the camera, but I'd know that sapphire, blue silk nightgown in a crowd. I'd bought it for Claire last Valentine's Day. I'd specifically upgraded from an $80 one to a $120 designer version, because she'd complained the cheaper fabric felt scratchy and cheap. I remembered every single detail of that purchase, just like I'd memorized every single tiny change in her behavior over the past 3 months. The man's face was blurred in the shadows, unrecognizable. I stared at the photo for exactly 10 full seconds. No shock, no panic, no surge of emotion, just pure, clinical observation, like I was inspecting a line of faulty code in my system. Then I locked my phone screen, sat up straight, and went right back to typing my code. My coworker Josh, the front-end dev in the cubicle next to mine, leaned over to peer at me, confused. "Hey man, why do you look so blank? You just stared at your phone like you saw a ghost." I didn't look up from my keyboard. I always look blank. "Nah, this is different," he argued. "This is the exact face you make when the client drops a last-minute requirement change that ruins 3 weeks of work." I paused for half a second, processing his comparison. He was exactly right. That's all this was to me, an unexpected bug in the perfect life system I'd been maintaining. Annoying, disruptive, but fixable. "Yeah," I said flatly. "Pretty much." I stood up, grabbed my jacket off my chair, and walked straight to my team lead's office. I told him I was feeling violently sick and needed to take a half-sick day. He took one look at my empty, drained expression, and waved me off without a second question, telling me to go home and rest up. I nodded silently, left the office, took the elevator down to the parking garage, and pulled up my GPS to my home address, an 18-minute drive. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't blast music to drown out thoughts. I didn't spiral or overthink. I just drove in complete silence, methodically piecing together every red flag I'd ignored, or more accurately, documented, over the past 3 months. 3 months ago, Claire started staying late at her marketing agency every single week. 2 months ago, she changed her phone passcode and locked it behind Face ID, refusing to let me so much as touch her device. 1 month ago, she started going on weekly weekend team, building retreats that always fell on days I was swamped with work. And just last week, I'd caught her smiling down at her phone, a soft, warm, glowing smile I hadn't seen her give me in years. I'd never been blind to the cheating. I'm a software architect. It's an occupational habit. You don't report a system bug without hard logs and proof. You don't make accusations without concrete data. So I'd prepared. I'd bought a tiny $20 Amazon spy camera, disguised as a USB wall charger, plugged it in our living room, and let it record everything, for 2 whole weeks. Nothing, no visitors, no suspicious activity, no lies. I waited patiently, just like debugging a slow system error. Then week 3, the pattern broke. Every single Wednesday afternoon at exactly 2:17 p.m., the same man walked through my front door. 6 feet tall, crisp navy polo shirt, 2 untouched Starbucks flat whites and a cardboard carrier. Claire would greet him in that expensive blue silk nightgown I'd bought her. They'd set the coffee down on the glass table without taking a single sip and head straight for my bedroom, door click shut, every single week, 5 times in 3 weeks. I'd logged every single instance in an Excel spreadsheet, date, time of entry, duration of their visit, notes, my only note every week. Didn't drink the coffee again, such a pointless, wasteful routine, but they stuck to it religiously. Today was Wednesday. I'd been waiting for the usual 2 p.m. motion alert from my camera, but it never came. Instead, I got that anonymous photo. It wasn't the cheating itself that surprised me. I'd already known every detail. What shocked me was that someone else was watching too, either a stranger looking for drama, or someone who wanted to watch my perfect marriage burn to the ground. It didn't matter either way. All that mattered was that today, the final patch of my revenge code was ready to deploy. I pulled into the underground garage of my apartment complex, the Waverly. I skipped the elevator entirely, 23 floors of fire stairs, climbed one slow, steady step at a time. It took me 10 minutes, and by the time I reached my front door, I wasn't winded, wasn't tired. Just focused. I didn't use the electronic keypad that beeps loudly when you type the code. I slid my physical key into the deadbolt, twisted it silently, and pushed the door open slow enough to catch every single detail. The 2 Starbucks cups were sitting on the living room glass table, sweating through the lids, completely untouched. Still a waste, the bedroom door was cracked open just enough for me to see exactly what was happening inside. I took one slow breath, not out of nervousness, just to steady my body after climbing 23 flights of stairs. Then I pushed the bedroom door wide open. The scene matched my camera footage perfectly. Claire was propped up against our headboard, her hair messy and splayed across the pillows. The man was lying on his side, his back to the door. The second the door hinges creaked, both of their heads snapped toward me in unison. 4 wide, terrified eyes locked onto mine. I watched Claire's face shift through every stage of panic in half a second. Confusion that I was home early, pure shock, then crippling terror, ending in a bloodless, ashen dread that drained every drop of color from her skin. The man was a beat slower, freezing solid, pupils blowing wide, mouth falling open in shock. Up close, I could see every detail the cheap spy camera missed. His expensive haircut, wrinkle-free skin, clean-shaven jaw with a tiny mole near his chin, mid-30s, well, off the kind of man Claire clearly thought was better than me. Noah, Claire's voice shook so hard the mattress trembled beneath her. What are you doing home? Aren't you supposed to be at work? I said nothing. I didn't yell. I didn't lunge. I didn't flip furniture or throw punches or scream in heartbreak, like a betrayed husband. I simply took one calm step backward, out of the bedroom and into the quiet living room. I pulled out my phone, unlocked it with Face ID, and tapped in 3 simple numbers. 911, the line rang twice before a dispatcher answered. 911, what is your emergency? My voice was flat, steady, completely monotone, like I was reciting a line of code, not reporting a crisis in my own home. My name is Noah Evans. I live at the Waverly, Building B, apartment 2305. I just came home from work and found a strange man in my bedroom, in bed with my wife. My wife looks absolutely terrified, and I believe she is being sexually assaulted. The dispatcher paused for 3 full seconds, clearly thrown off by my calm tone amid such a serious allegation. Sir, can you repeat that? Are you reporting an active sexual assault? I came home to an open bedroom door and an unknown man in my marital bed. I reiterated calmly. My wife's reaction is pure terror. Based on her obvious fear and shock at my arrival, I have every reason to believe she was coerced or forced into this situation. Okay, sir, officers are being dispatched to your location immediately, the dispatcher rushed to say. Do not engage with the intruder, do not start a physical altercation for your safety. Don't worry, I said softly, hanging up the call, I won't. I turned back to face the bedroom. Claire had scrambled out of bed in an instant, clutching the duvet tight to her chest to cover herself. Her face was chalk white, her lips trembling uncontrollably as she stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Noah, what the hell did you just do? She shrieked, voice breaking. I stared at her with that same empty, calm expression, watching her panic spiral harder by the second. You're crazy, this is a misunderstanding, I can explain everything, just listen to me. No need, I said simply. I walked over to the living room couch and sat down comfortably, settling into the cushion like I was settling in for a movie night. The police are on their way, you can explain every detail to them. After all, you're the victim here. I could hear frantic shuffling from the bedroom. Her lover Trent, though I wouldn't learn his name until later, was fumbling to pull his pants on. His hands shook so violently he missed the leg hole twice, and when he finally got them up, his zipper was still undone. He stumbled out of the bedroom, freezing dead in his tracks when he saw me sitting casually on my couch, completely unfazed by the chaos he'd created in my home. Bro man, listen to me, this is all a huge mistake, he rambled, voice shaky and desperate. I nodded toward his waist, tone mild and uninterested. Zip your pants up first. He glanced down, and every last drop of color drained from his face, leaving him a sickly gray, green. In that moment, he knew exactly how much trouble he was in. Trent stood frozen in the middle of my living room, looking like a tech engineer who'd just crashed an entire server farm, fully aware he was at fault, but clueless how to fix the damage. His eyes darted constantly between me and the front door, running calculations in his head. I knew exactly what he was doing. He was weighing his escape odds. 23 floors down, elevator wait time, 40 seconds minimum, stair climb down, 3 minutes minimum, knees burning the whole way, and the cops were 6 minutes out. Stop checking the door, I said, cutting through his panic. It's been 4 minutes since I called. You've got 2 minutes max before they pull up in the lobby. Trent's face paled even further. To my left, Claire huddled in the corner of the couch, wrapped tight in the duvet, eyes red and watery, staring at me like I was a complete stranger, like the man she'd married lived with, loved for years was suddenly a cold calculating monster. Noah, what are you trying to do? She whispered, broken and desperate. Nothing at all. I replied evenly. I'm just a concerned husband who came home early, found his wife in a terrifying situation, and called the authorities to keep her safe. Bullshit, she snapped, jumping to her feet and nearly dropping the blanket. You know damn well, that's not what this is. You're doing this on purpose. I tilted my head slightly, feigning genuine confusion. Oh, then what is it, Claire? She choked on her words, mouth opening and closing uselessly. She was trapped, and she knew it. I'd built the perfect no-win loop for her, and she had exactly 60 seconds to pick her poison. Option 1, admit the affair was consensual, confess her adultery to police, and hand me irrefutable proof for a clean, winning divorce settlement where she gets nothing. Option 2, play along with my assault narrative, and send her secret lover straight to jail for a felony sex crime. 2 choices, both catastrophic, no way out. I leaned back into the couch, reached for one of the untouched Starbucks cups on the table, and shook it gently, still warm. I popped the lid off and took a slow, casual sip, smooth flat white, not bad at all. Trent's eye twitched violently as he watched me drink the coffee he'd bought for my wife. Claire stared at me in pure, unadulterated horror, trembling from head to toe. You're out of your mind, she breathed. I'm perfectly rational, I said, taking another sip. You two want the other coffee, would be ashamed to waste it after he went out of his way to buy it. Silence suffocated the room for 15 long seconds. Trent was the first to break, switching into desperate corporate negotiation mode, voice low and pleading. Look man, let's settle this privately. I'll write you a check right now, 50 grand, no, $100,000, let's make this whole thing disappear. I raised an eyebrow. Is 100 grand enough to bail you out of a felony sexual assault charge? The hope in his eyes died instantly. He'd thought I was after money. I was after destruction. Before he could reply, the doorbell rang. Trent flinched like he'd been tased, a sharp, involuntary jolt rocking his entire body. Claire gasped loudly, burying her face in the blanket to hide her tears and terror. I set the coffee cup down slowly, stood up, and straightened the collar of my dress shirt. In one quick second, I rewrote my entire demeanor. I rubbed my palms hard into my eyes until they stung and reddened. I pinched the bridge of my nose to flush my face. I furrowed my brow, dropped the corners of my mouth, and shifted my icy, detached calm into the shaky, devastated expression of a broken husband, who'd just walked in on the worst moment of his life. 1 second of perfect emotional coding, no flaws, no errors. I pulled open the front door to find 2 police officers standing in the hallway. One was a veteran middle-aged detective with tired, sharp eyes that had seen every kind of human chaos. The other was a rookie fresh out of the academy, hand hovering over his body cam, ready for anything. Noah Evans, the older detective asked gruffly. That's me, I said, my voice trembling perfectly, thick with repressed grief and fear. Thank God you're here. I didn't know what else to do. I was so scared for her. The detective clapped a reassuring hand on my shoulder. Take it easy, son. Where's the individual in question? I stepped aside, clearing the full view of the living room for them. The scene I'd staged was flawless, purely visual and completely damning. A disheveled, panicked man with unbuttoned clothes standing stiff in the center of the room. A sobbing, terrified woman huddled in a blanket, red-eyed, and shaking. 2 abandoned coffee cups on the table, proof of a premeditated visit. To any outsider, there was only one possible conclusion: an intruder had broken in, and assaulted my defenseless wife. The rookie's jaw tightened instantly. The veteran detective's eyes hardened with quiet judgment. Who is this man? The detective asked, nodding at Trent. Trent opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. I cut in first, my voice soft, shaky, and broken, selling every word perfectly. I have no idea who he is. I came home early, opened my bedroom door, and found him in my bed with my wife. She looked so terrified I thought he might have hurt her, or had a weapon. I didn't dare confront him alone. I let my voice crack and trail off, like the trauma of the moment was too heavy for me to finish my sentence. The rookie's hand drifted straight to his utility belt. The detective's face turned to stone. Id now, he ordered Trent sharply. Trent's hands shook so bad he could barely pull his wallet out of his pocket. He fumbled with his license, nearly dropping it on the hardwood floor before shakily handing it over. The detective glanced at the name on the card, jotting it down in his notepad. Trent and Hayes, 36. All right, Mr. Hayes, you're coming with us. Wait. Officer, it's not what it looks like, Trent shouted, voice spiking in panic. This was consensual. We're together. Claire, tell them we've been seeing each other for 3 months. Every eye in the room locked on Claire, the cop's eyes, Trent's desperate, pleading eyes, and my own cold, unblinking eyes. I watched her every movement, counting down in my head. 3, 2, 1, her lips trembled, she hesitated. Then she whispered the words that destroyed Trent's life in an instant. I don't know him. The quiet sentence hit the room like a gunshot. I watched Trent's face crumble in slow motion, first pure shock, then disbelief, then absolute, soul-crushing terror. Claire, what are you saying? He gasped, stumbling backward. She buried her face deeper in the blanket, shoulders heaving with fake sobs. I don't know him, she repeated, louder this time. The rookie cop's posture went rigid. The veteran detective unclipped his handcuffs from his belt, stepping forward. Turn around and put your hands behind your back, Mr. Hayes. No, she's lying. Trent hyperventilated, stumbling backward until his leg hit the glass coffee table, the untouched flat white tipped over, hot coffee spilling across the glass surface and dripping onto my expensive living room rug. We've been sleeping together for months. She's lying to save herself. I stood against the wall completely calm, watching as the handcuffs clicked tight around Trent's wrists. The only thought in my head, that's a real shame about the flat white. It was actually pretty good. We headed to the police station in separate cars. Claire rode with the veteran detective, Trent locked in the back of the rookie's patrol car, and I followed behind them in my own vehicle, steady and unrushed. Halfway to the precinct, my phone buzzed with a text from Josh, my coworker. He asked why I'd left work early, if I was really sick. I typed back one simple line, family emergency, before I could lock my phone. He called me immediately, yelling in shock through the speaker. Holy shit, Noah, what's going on? Do you need me to come over right now? No need, I said calmly. Keeping one hand on the wheel, I called the cops. We're heading to the precinct now. Jesus man, are you okay? Don't do anything crazy, just stay calm. I'm fine, I'll call you later. I hung up, letting my car's Bluetooth resume morning podcast, a boring tutorial on advanced Excel macros. I listened the whole way to the station, completely unbothered by the life-altering chaos unfolding around me. The precinct was quiet and sterile. They separated all 3 of us instantly. Trent was dragged into a locked interrogation room. Claire was ushered into a private witness office down the hall. I sat alone on a hard plastic hallway chair, sipping lukewarm water an officer handed me, and waited patiently for my turn to give a statement. Detective Ramirez, the veteran officer from my apartment, finally stepped out to meet me. Clipboard in hand. Mr. Evans, walk me through exactly what happened when you arrived home today. I structured my answer, like clean, organized code, chronological, concise, flawlessly logical. I left work early around 3:40 p.m., due to illness. I arrived home at 4:05 p.m., found 2 foreign coffee cups on my living room table, and my bedroom door ajar. I opened the door to find an unknown man in my bed with my wife. My wife exhibited extreme terror and shock upon seeing me. Fearing she was in danger, I exited the room and dialed 911 immediately. I made no contact or altercation with the suspect. Ramirez scribbled notes quickly, then looked up at me with sharp, curious eyes. You didn't confront him at all. Why's that? I'm a software engineer, I replied simply. I process things logically. A physical fight would have contaminated the scene and risked harm to myself or my wife. Calling law enforcement was the only rational choice. He nodded slowly, clearly studying my face, trying to find the crack in my perfectly crafted victim persona. Has your wife ever mentioned this man before? How have things been between you two lately? I let a tiny flicker of quiet bitterness seep into my tone, just enough to sell a hurt, betrayed husband. I thought things were perfect. We've been happy, or so I believed. She's never mentioned anyone like him. Ramirez stared at me for 3 long seconds, like he was trying to read the hidden code behind my eyes, but he found nothing. He went back to his notes, no further questions asked. After I finished and signed my official statement, I sat back down in the hallway chair. My phone buzzed again with more frantic texts from Josh, offering to take TO to come support me, saying the entire dev team had my back. I smiled faintly and typed back a single, casual request. Can you order me some pad ki mao? Not too spicy. I missed lunch today. 15 minutes later, the interrogation room door swung open. Trent was escorted out in handcuffs, his face the gray color of wet concrete, completely broken. He looked like a man who'd just lost everything. His job, his freedom, his reputation, all in one single afternoon. When he saw me sitting calmly in the hallway, his eyes flooded with a storm of rage, fear, despair, and betrayal. I gave him a polite, neutral nod. He stared back, speechless and defeated. 10 minutes after that, Detective Ramirez called me into his office, his expression serious and tight. "Mr. Evans, the situation's gotten complicated." I tilted my head, feigning innocent confusion. "How so?" Mr. Hayes is vehemently insisting the encounter was 100% consensual. Ramirez explained. "He's claiming he and your wife have been in a romantic relationship for 3 months, meeting every single Wednesday afternoon at your apartment." I let my face shift into perfect, polite skepticism, eyes wide with fake shock. "Is that right?" What he didn't know was that every single word Trent was saying was true, and every single piece of proof I'd hidden was about to bury both him and my cheating wife forever. "Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Claire deserves to get away with lying to save herself, or does she deserve to lose everything right alongside Trent?" If you enjoyed this cold, calculated revenge story, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.